Amazing how the levels continue to work via technical analysis. All right, so basically we have these two trend lines here that I had in prior, right? So again, if you've been watching, you know these lines were in even before we came down to these levels here. We saw that we had support here, and support here. We finally broke and we confirmed. We then hit our next level of support right at 60,000. And what's happened?
Wait a minute, everyone. Welcome to Bitcoinzilla, your platform for daily cryptocurrency analysis and news. Our mission is to keep it simple. Bitcoinzilla offers engaging information that is easy to understand. Our analysts keep their eyes on the latest news to provide valuable insights via email. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Join our community of 10,000 subscribers and experience the new edge with Bitcoinzilla. Subscribe now. The chart shows two critical trend lines. One is rock-solid support at 60,000, while the other has transformed into resistance. Will Bitcoin surge past resistance or face rejection? Let's join Gareth in this interview about these topics and more.
All right, guys, we are back. Let's take a look at that Bitcoin chart. Amazing how the levels continue to work via technical analysis. All right, so basically we have these two trend lines here that I had in prior, right? So again, if you've been watching, you know these lines were in even before we came down to these levels here. We saw that we had support here, and support here. We finally broke and we confirmed. We then hit our next level of support right at 60,000. And what's happened? We've now snapped back. Now remember, this bottom line is confirmed support. This is now confirmed resistance. Therefore, what ends up happening, it's almost like a back and forth. These two levels will just bounce back and forth until we break one way or the other. So what you'd generally expect is for us to go up here, hit this, and then potentially be rejected back down. Again, the big thing will be we're now stuck between these two lines. Which way do we ultimately break? But right now, as a technician, you say, okay, this is resistance, this is support. You buy support, you sell into resistance. Again, simple as that. If you did that right here, then you made a nice little chunk of change as we've gone up. But in general, if you're just a short-term investor, you're looking to sell at that level because there's no guarantees you get through a confirmed resistance line. Now, if you're a long-term investor, then generally, like me, you're probably long-term bullish on Bitcoin. I continue to be long-term bullish. But again, I'm also a trader, and that's primarily what I do, and thus showing you the current levels on the chart. Okay, so that's where we are right there on Bitcoin. Looking at Ethereum real quick.
Bitcoin starts its post-halving period strong, trading over $66,000. Here's what's happening. After a shaky period, Bitcoin's price is back over $66,000, showing its resilience despite some sell-offs. Analysts are watching the order book. A large sell order above the current price hints at possible resistance to a price surge. Observers are comparing past halvings to predict Bitcoin's next moves. There's hope that Bitcoin is gearing up for future gains. Key U.S. economic reports could sway Bitcoin's direction. The PCE index, an inflation indicator watched by the Fed, is particularly significant. Bitcoin's transaction fees have risen, indicating more network use and miner income. This could impact Bitcoin's market role, but its core strengths and growth prospects are seen as solid. Investors and analysts are keeping a close eye on these developments to spot opportunities and forecast Bitcoin's path forward.
Take a look at the parallels. I'm a huge fan of parallels. There's something in our subconscious that has to make, from chaos, it has to make sense. It has to, some sort of order has to come from it. And that's what these parallels show us, right? So what we really had here was we had this line down here, which was a classic line, just hit once, twice, three times. We drag a parallel up, right? And what we could see is that parallel goes to this area and this area where we broke, and then we touched it here before we broke out. Now, again, once you break out and confirm, what does the methodology that I teach tell you? It tells you that you should retrace to the scene of the crime, which again is right here, but now it's confirmed support. It was resistance. Once you break resistance, it becomes support on the way back down. What happens to Ethereum? After it goes to 4,000, it comes right back into that level, and it bounces off that level. Now, remember the other part of the methodology is that when you have a level, right, and you keep going up and hammering on it, all right, eventually, if you hammer on it enough, you break it to the downside. But it usually takes, I would say, 3+ hits of that line. That's generally what I teach in the methodology, is that it's multiple hits because it weakens it. Again, same thought process of ramming into that door over and over again. It's locked. It's a normal door into a house or whatever it is, and you're ramming it And you're not going to break it down the first time. Most of us at least wouldn't. But after a couple times, 3, 4, 5 times, most of us can probably ram that door down. The same process here. Hitting the door, hitting the door, hitting the door. There it finally gives way because it weakens. All right, so again, that methodology, that thought process is really powerful when you find trend lines that have multiple hits on them, because you can start anticipating. Like, you might be a buyer here on this trend line right here, right? But what if you go up like this and you keep going like this? Would you still buy the trend line over here? The answer is probably not, because the door has been weakened too much. Okay? All right, so that's where we are right now, guys. On that, let's go to gold. Gold seeing a very sizable pullback today, down $52 on the day. And again, this is where the techniques, and again, I just love being able to do these daily, because so many of these just end up proving themselves based on the chart. And by the way, the only difference is that I just know what to look for, right? Everything I know, you guys can learn. There's nothing too fancy about this chart, right? It's just recognizing the extended up move, the volume on this candle right here, and that it fits the topping tail signal, right? So a topping tail, again, is a reversal signal. And even after we have the reversal signal, notice how we still went sideways on this chart, right? We still went like this. So a lot of bulls were still getting long that don't know what a topping tail is. A topping tail to me is a warning sign. It tells me price is likely in the short term going to come back in. What ends up happening? We finally get the dump. I think, honestly, we're headed lower. We will have some support right down here, right? I mean, there'll be around 2320. There'll be a decent amount of support. But if you're looking at where this likely, at least for me, if I had to game this out and talk about the perfect area that I would start to accumulate, there's 2 levels. So the first one is a retrace to this area. See this area right here? See how you had a kind of like a up, pull back, and finally the breakout? That now becomes support right around 2200. And then really what we're talking about is, if we go back, this would be the other level, right? This retrace to the scene of the crime, which is around 2080. We'll call it 2080. Okay, so this is 2200. Okay, those would be your 2 key levels. Now, again, which one does it bounce off of? Where do we start making new highs? Because I still am in the belief that with the monetary system in shambles the way it is, with printing, with likely the economy headed back down, which means the Fed will have to lower rates regardless of inflation, eventually gold's going to go higher. But for me, if I had to play it out, I'd want to buy a little here and a little right there and accumulate in that zone. Okay, now is there a chance it doesn't get there? Of course it is, but that's okay, because there's always another trade around the corner. That's important to remember.
Bitcoin's recent halving has led to significant activity by unknown entities, with the market holding steady above $66,000. Here's a brief overview. Large Bitcoin movements have been noted post-halving, including one transaction of 162,419 BTC worth around $10.56 million. The origins of these transactions are not fully known, adding to the market's curiosity. Despite these large transfers, Bitcoin's price remains stable above $66,000. The market is watchful, with investors looking out for any major changes. Past halvings have shown a mix of short-term volatility and long-term growth. This pattern suggests a maturing Bitcoin market with reduced volatility over time. Market watchers continue to observe these whale transactions and market trends closely, staying alert to the potential impacts on Bitcoin's future. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.